Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. It's our second online meetup, so any blips, blame me. Big thank you for everybody joining, and I'm sure it'll be a great event. Meetup.com with Agile West Midlands LinkedIn group. So if you search Agile West Midlands on LinkedIn, that should come up. And if you want to join that, everything I post will be on there. And it's a bit easy to share like slide decks and things like that on it from meetup events. So it's just a bit easier than meetup. So big thank you to Sarah for doing the talk. I was speaking to Sarah a few weeks ago and she was talking about how the team have adapted and changed it during this time. And I thought it'd be great to share and great to see the positives that have come out of this, tough time at the moment. And that employers are thinking about how to engage with their staff differently. And I for sure have been sort of had a foot in both camps whilst I've been sort of working from home. One, I've really enjoyed, being at home, at a reasonable time, at the end of the day, start of the day, and seeing the kids at lunchtime and having a bit more balance. But at the same time, I kind of miss the interaction. I'm a bit more of an extrovert. I need to be around people to bounce off people. So that's been a learning curve through this. Even though we did sort of half a dozen of us meet in the park this morning to have a walk round and a catch up, socially distanced. It's been cool. So I'm sure Sarah will also mention she's doing a bit of recruitment as well. So I'm sure she'll talk about that. But big thank you again to Sarah. Thank you very much. And over to you.
Thank you very much. So I'll start off by giving people a bit of a background into me. So I joined Homes England in September, and before that I've been building Agile teams across government since 2012, and we've been working to the Government Digital Service Design Standard since that time, working closely with GDS. I joined Homes England back in September with the remit really to build Agile multidisciplinary teams. So I've come in as the Assistant Director of Delivery. And there was a small digital team already in place that was predominantly contractor. So since September, we've started on quite an aggressive recruitment plan, building those teams, just starting to understand the contractor market, starting to understand the recruitment market, and recruiting to the digital data and technology taxonomy, the DDAT framework. So reclassifying all of our job descriptions, and then also looking at the capability of the people that we already had. So we were well on our way with that plan before Christmas. Post-Christmas, we then started to enact it before we were hit by COVID. And it's fair to say that COVID hit us right at the peak of our recruitment. And alongside this big transformation and our organisation doubling in size and our digital team having to double in size, luckily the digital team had the foresight to do a complete rollout of new devices and move to the Office 365 suite. And it's fair to say for us as an organisation, if we hadn't done that, we would have been in a different position by the time COVID hit. What it did mean was that everybody swiftly and without any pain moved immediately to working from home. Even before lockdown was announced, all of our people, so that's our digital teams and our business teams, were moved straight to remote working. The biggest challenge was making sure that people had comfortable chairs, making sure that everybody had a mouse and a keyboard at home. So our service desk went into a little bit of overdrive, but we were actually ahead of the curve, and 2 weeks before lockdown, everybody was working from home. As an organisation, the decision's been made that we will not be returning to our offices until at least after Christmas. And even then, it will be people who need to go to an office. So those needs will vary. There are some people who their work doesn't need them to be in an office, but their personal circumstances, they might be a graduate in a flat share, they might be somebody with a home environment that does not lend itself to working from home, and we've had all sorts of different reasons. So there will be office working available to people who really do need it, but that will only be from after Christmas. But we've also seen a big shift in people who thought they couldn't work from home, from line managers who thought they couldn't let their teams work from home. So as an organisation, there's been a huge cultural shift. And I referred to Office 365, but I'll come to some of the tools now that's enabled us to make that successful. So from day one, we were totally reliant on the Office 365 suite. There was lots of learning and people trying to get up to speed with what that gave us. So Microsoft Teams was obviously our video conferencing of choice, and everybody found themselves on 10 hours a day of video conferencing calls, which was very draining, and the novelty soon wore off. We've now moved to a slightly less aggressive cadence of making sure we've all got slots during the day where it's meeting free time. So people do have, breaks of keeps free in there. So no video conferencing, no calls, but opportunities for some quiet time to get the work done. That's been really important for people's health and well-being. And at this point, it's fair to say that health and well-being has also been at the forefront of this. We moved straight away to getting everyone to work from home because we understand concerns that as a national organisation, the majority of our people were getting on trains. We were travelling into London, we were on the tube, and there were lots of public transport issues. So we wanted to protect our people from day one to enable them to work from home, and we'll continue to do that for as long as it takes. So yeah, health and well-being, making sure we've got time out in meetings, making sure people aren't doing back-to-back meetings, reducing meeting times from those traditional hour slots to 50 minutes, and from those 30-minute slots down to 25. And you can do that and set them up in custom settings within your calendar function in Outlook, which is what we use to manage our calendars, obviously as part of Office 365. So there are tweaks that we're still iterating and evolving, taking that agile approach, doing those retros, what's worked well, what hasn't. We've also moved to doing pulse surveys with our people across the whole organisation. So how are they feeling? How is technology, how is digital having an impact on that? Within the Office 365 suite, whiteboard is used for collaborative working, but we have been getting some feedback. The functionality hasn't been that great. So we have also kicked off a tools discovery, seeing what else is out there. The Miro tool for collaborative working seemed to be really, really popular with some of our contractor support that have been coming in. So we are looking at those as opportunities to increase the collaborative tools we have on offer. But if there's a few people on a call, then we found whiteboard to be absolutely sufficient for what we need to do. Some of our project planning tools, Trello was the tool of choice. With Office 365 came Planner, less functionality, but again, for those people who aren't from a project background or aren't from digital, thinking across our business colleagues in the organisation, Planner can hit the sweet spot for those people as well. It gets up to speed quite quickly. It interlinks very nicely with the teams that we're all a part of now. And also we've got a part of the tools discovery, and because of my experience as well, Jira's in the mix, because a lot of people know Jira and it's so intuitive now, and the latest version, you can get a Jira board set up really quickly. And also we do a lot of software development in our cloud platform projects. They're looking at the Azure DevOps as well as some other Planner tools. So what we aren't doing is locking down the tools that our people use. We're listening to our users of those tools, we're getting feedback, and we're adopting different tool sets and dishing out different advice depending on what the need is. So that's where we are with those tools. Going on to recruitment, and initially COVID could have stopped all recruitment we were doing, but again, moving to Office 365, everybody being able to do their job from home, including our HR department, we've been able to continue with quite an aggressive recruitment campaign. And that's recruitment of permanent people and contractors. Homes England is still very much open for business, and we've got to support the economy getting back on track with the housing development and those services we provide. So with our permanent recruitment, the way we've been able to do that is our HR department. They are already set up with cloud hosted services, so they can do all their work from home. All of their the files and structure we use is through SharePoint, and we also have a campaign and onboarding site that's cloud hosted and accessible remotely. So none of our recruitment has actually come to a standstill. In fact, I've never done so many interviews. They are all over Teams. We have still been able to run assessment centres, giving people scenarios beforehand. But it has been an extremely successful recruitment campaign, and we acknowledge that we are reaping success on the back of other people's misfortune. That's something that we are really mindful of, that, we have got some great candidates, but the reason we've got them is the jobs they were in previously, they've either been furloughed or stood down. So, there is an element of sadness there for us, but, and acknowledging that people are in that situation. but it's definitely supported Homes England. Again, the contractor, we have got lots and lots of projects that we need to deliver on behalf of the government. They're not long-term pieces of work, so it is absolutely right that we continue bringing contractors in. We are still on our Agile journey. Our maturity levels still aren't where we would like them to be, so the contractor market enables us to bring in people with specialist skills, people who can have got experience of working in agile multidisciplinary teams, so we can bring those people in, support us in our delivery, but also do knowledge transfer and provide an element of coaching as well. It doesn't stop here for us at Homes England. You know, our teams are still growing. It's a very, very ambitious recruitment campaign across the whole of the organisation. The phase that we're at the moment is building those multidisciplinary teams, submitting business cases to fund teams, not projects. That's our key focus going forward. We don't want to be funding sporadic small projects here and there. We want to have a real focus on our teams, bringing teams together, the team ethos, learning for teams, coaching for teams, support for teams, and fun for teams. I touched earlier on health and well-being. Keeping our people happy is at the forefront of what we're trying to do here, keeping people motivated, supporting them, whether it's the virtual pub on a Friday after work, getting people to finish at 4:30 and to turn up with a tipple of their choice. Mine is normally a cup of tea at 4:30, but some people do hit the hard stuff a bit earlier. So there is a big focus on that. I'll touch on the offering from our recruitment people first as well. You know, the people that we're recruiting into the team, we are investing heavily in learning and development. We're not civil servants, so we have the luxury of working outside of some of those parameters. So our annual leave offering is, you know, we offer 33 days a year. Our working week is 35 hours. We do have some of the most competitive salaries across the public sector. And that is, I suppose, because Homes England is actually one of the 5th largest banks in the country. That I didn't realise till I came here. That is a big part of our business, as well as building homes and supporting the housing sector. So the benefits package is pretty fantastic, and that's coming from someone who's worked across public sector and civil service for a long time. As well as you know, that usual benefits package for our digital team. When I joined, there'd been no investment in learning and development over the last few years. So one of the first things we did is we engaged with an enterprise license for a digital learning and development training platform. People might know it's Plural Sites, but through Plural Sites we've been able to set up career paths, succession planning, training plans, and those career paths for all of our professions now. So whether someone's joining us as a junior apprentice or an associate, right the way up to those senior lead and heads of, we can pull together that training package to support people. So although it's attracting people to Homes England, we actually want them to stay with us. We want them to develop and progress through their profession as well. I'm making it all sound really easy. It hasn't been easy, it's been really difficult, but we've the commitment has come right from the top from our chief executive. We've got a newly appointed chief digital technology officer, and we've got a new assistant director digital leadership team as well. And the commitment is all there. We've got a vision, very clear vision of where we want to go, of the standards that we want to set, and the sort of environment that we want here at Homes England Digital. And it is, you know, the future for us, it is agile. The future is multidisciplinary teams. The future for us is the DDAT framework and those professions and growing those within the organisation. But first and foremost, it is putting users at the heart of what we do and making sure that every bit of software, digital solution that we deliver is based purely around the user's needs. And I've done loads of talking there, so I'm going to have a look at the chat, see if there's any questions. No questions.
Right, I wanted to ask a question anyway to kick it off.
Sure.
With regards to, obviously, mental health, well-being, very much at the forefront, and what's been the major challenge here that we found working from home and things. What sort of things and are you picking up on, and how are you picking up on things, and what sort of impact has that sort of had within the team and the function, and maybe work rate or something like that?
No, absolutely. Acknowledgement right from day one that yeah, there was going to be an impact to velocity, an impact to delivery, and accepting that and communicating that from a leadership level that was okay. You know, the first week everybody went into COVID mode, which was like, 10 hours a day, meetings, what can we do? How can we fix this? But then that period of reflection after that first sprint, saying, people are actually feeling a bit worn out, taking that shift back. So it was encouraging people to put time in their diary, as leaders taking time out to check in with people. You know, let's just grab a coffee. You know, we can't do the face-to-face coffee, but let's have book some time, let's have a chat. You know, no pen and paper, no typing notes, no agenda, but asking some really open questions and taking a coaching style. You know, how are you feeling? How is this working for you? We have found people sat in two distinct camps. They were either thriving on it because they love change and that's why they were in the project world in the first place. And then there was another group of people who were extremely struggling. This far down the line now, what we've actually observed is the people who were struggling at the start have actually found a really nice sweet spot. They're in a routine and they've got things that suit them. And people who were thriving at the start, and myself included, I'm an extrovert. I love being around people, the buzz, being in the office, going for coffees, going to conferences. I actually hit a brick wall last week. I was finding it all a bit tedious, a bit boring now. I just want to get back to some normality. So we have found like the different personality styles have evolved, and the people who were coping at the start are the ones who aren't coping now. So it is about acknowledging that, taking time to reflect, and everybody being okay with finding a pattern and a cadence that suits them. So straight out impacts on velocity, that's absolutely, that was a given. There was no pressure on people, but we are keen to get feedback. Like I touched on the pulse surveys, we run a pulse survey every 2 weeks, and we ask some pertinent questions to kind of direct the response that we want. We want to know, how are people feeling? How are people feeling about project delivery? How are people feeling about the training that's being rolled out? How are people feeling about the pipeline of work that's coming, or the minister's directive, or the recent announcements about shops opening? We just want to get a feel of how our people are feeling. But yeah, interesting for us, one of our highest performing teams, and the most productive team that we've ever had here in Homes England Digital. They're all completely remote. They were all brand new to the organisation. They landed on the 23rd of May, and it's just been amazing what they've been able to do. And what has enabled that is being given a clear vision, being allowed and empowered to go and use the tools they need to do to go and do the job, and just, you know, with some just set parameters about how to feed back the work they're doing through show and tells and those sprint retros. Just giving them a completely empowerment over what they're doing, but having that set vision. We've actually taken some learning, so when we do come out of lockdown, whenever that is, that those key learnings can be applied in the future. Just to, from a leader perspective, is to step back and allow the teams to feel empowered and do what they need to do.
Cool. Well, it looks like the questions are coming through thick and fast now, so I'll let you pick through those and go through this bit of time.
Okay, so what kind of skills are we looking for? So if everybody Googles like DDAT taxonomy and looks at .gov.uk, all of the delivery professions are in there. So delivery manager, we were being really clear about that. So they're not project management skills we're looking for, it's delivery management, that facilitation, you know, being able to support and coach a team in agile software delivery. Product management is key, ownership of a product, you know, being to understand the needs of the user, to have a prioritized backlog. Software developers, we will be recruiting a lot of software developers. Again, that knowledge of not only working as part of an agile multidisciplinary team, but the componentized reuse of some of the government components, so GovPay, GovNotify. So you don't have to have worked in government to use those. They are open to across the public sector as well. And the people who are contractors, you know, government use a lot of contractors. So I've spoken to people from Skills Funding Agency based in Coventry. Previously, I was based at Office for the Public Guardian for Ministry of Justice in Birmingham. I'm trying to think of all of the other government colleagues. So we've got the Gambling Commission in Birmingham as well, Legal Aid Authority, Criminal Injury Compensation Authority, Department of Education. So there's lots of, and all of the city councils now, Coventry City Council, they've all signed up to the digital declaration. You can Google that as well, and that details the standards of the digital services that we have to deliver against the GDS design standard. So hopefully that's given people an idea of what we're recruiting for. So it's those skills. How do the team balance discovery work? So, that's an interesting one. So when we put a team together for a discovery, we bring a team together, they go and they focus on their discovery, and there's a very fixed process for us to do a discovery. It's, you know, going out there, exploring what is the problem that we're trying to solve, doing some research, you know, the as is process, the to be, what the vision is, getting that senior stakeholder. So digital sits aside from the business. So I know not all organisations are set up like that, but for us, we're providing a service to our business colleagues as well. So yeah, it's getting that steer of what the vision is, but how do we balance that? So the discovery work, it is that team having that time and space, and we might time box it. We might say a 6-week discovery, go, and then, you know, that we then have the ceremonies or the agile gates, portfolio board, etc., for people to come back, present their findings, and then collectively, collaboratively as a group, we'll determine what the next step should look like. Because we do work delivering government services, we work to the discovery alpha beta life cycle. So our alphas are very much about hypothesizing, the art of the possible, what that might look like. And at the end of the alpha, we'll have a very clear priority that we're looking to solve, you know, that problem, understanding of the problem, that what the landscape looks like, possibly some wireframes of what we want to take forward. We'd then have an assessment on that. And then after that assessment, if it's shown that yes, this meets the user needs, we understand the whole end-to-end service journey, we'd proceed to a beta and actually start laying down some foundations and start actually doing some development. But that wouldn't happen till a beta anyway. So yeah, so hopefully that answers that for Sonia. Question from Dave: how have your PI planning session events gone since everyone has been working from home? They've gone really well. I think a bit of housekeeping. You know, housekeeping has been key. We've had a little bit of tension, you know, bearing in mind we've had onboarding new people to teams as well. So we've been going through that change curve. We've had some personality clashes. People, any of my colleagues who've joined this won't mind me saying that. But it is about those Agile principles. It is about working in the open, being really honest in a safe environment, you know, talking them through, talking about actually what was the problem. Is the problem because we're all working from home and we can't see the whites of people's eyes? Or is the problem that we just haven't agreed our ways of working and how we're going to work together? And I think that's really key. And managers and leaders stepping back and enabling the teams to do that also has been so successful. You know, there aren't any managers walking past the table, butting in, you know, poking their nose in. And I have been guilty of that, you know, sitting down, oh, tell me what's going on. You know, that does have an impact on teams and trying to have open and honest conversations with each other. So that's been the biggest learning for me, is stepping back and, you know, letting the teams get on, you know, obviously giving them some guiding principles to work with and letting them know my expectations, so they come back and give me an update in a format that I'm okay with, but I definitely don't go and interfere with any of their ceremonies anymore. What's the best way found to keep track of project progress and staff objectives? So they're two separate things. So we work in multidisciplinary teams, matrix management. So people's line managers, they report through in one space, and then they're part of the multidisciplinary team, and their work they're doing is something different, so I'll tackle them differently. So people's objectives, we have the annual objective setting here. We do the 6-month review, and then we have monthly meetings to see how people are working to their objectives. So that's with line managers, and as a line manager myself, that's working really well, and our L&OD department are supporting us, making sure they're doing their usual, here are the templates, here's the strategic objectives, here's the golden thread for you all to work with when setting your own. So that has worked really well. We've had to all get extremely organised with our calendars to making sure everybody has those booked in. So for some people that like to have those ad hoc chats, it has forced people to be a little bit more organised now, for getting those spaces in diaries and being respectful of when other people have time out. But how do we keep track of project progress? Well, we're working in the open. You know, digital working from home has enabled us to do that. We're all using digital tools. We can invite people to boards that we couldn't before. And we can, you know, give the right access to those boards as well. So if people are on Jira or Planner, or even the Miro boards, you know, if we just want to give people view access because we want them to see what we're doing, then that's fine. And we keep that control by just not giving people edit if we don't want them to accidentally touch a plan. Like me, I went into something and accidentally forgot my screen was touch screen. I was pointing at something and I moved it. So yeah, don't give me edit access unless you want me to ruin it. But yeah, it is working in the open has been and working from home has enabled us to do that. It makes you realise when we were in an office and we had the big dry whiteboard, that wasn't accessible for everyone across the country. You know, you might take a snapshot of a picture, but it wasn't real time. So the feedback I'm getting is we don't notice the non-co-located of our teams anymore, which was an issue when we were in offices. And, you know, we have regional hubs, we have Newcastle, we've got Coventry, we've got people in London, Homes England staff are all over the country. Everybody working from home has actually brought us closer together and removed some of those regional boundaries. So that's been really great. So project process, and then at the end of every sprint we do show and tells. Our sprint review is a show and tell. We have digital Tuesdays now where we bring everyone together. People know to block Tuesday afternoons out, make yourself a cup of tea, sit down, and it's literally one show and tell after another, people sharing what they've done for their last sprint. And that's been fantastic for making our work more higher profile as well across the organisation. And also it's been joining up delivery managers where, you know, we've highlighted some areas where people could join up, some dependency management or even some opportunities as well. So that's been really good. And we still do the one pages, which is a bit of a high level RAG status, what they delivered in the last sprint, any risks they've identified, what the burn rate is, you know, the costs so far. And that just ticks a few boxes for our portfolio team as well. But we've all done it very light touch. Sarah, you mentioned that in the early stage of Agile adoption, did you encounter any challenges from the customer users to the Agile approach? Yes, and we still are. So we're very much a game of two halves. We've got new people coming in who have the skills, and we've got people within the team who are coming along on that journey and across the rest of the organisation. I think, you know, the biggest challenge that we've got is working with people who still expect to give us their shopping list of things and hand it over, run away and want it back in 12 months, all shiny and perfect for what they need. And the biggest challenge I've got is I know we want someone from the business to come and sit within the team and let's prioritise as we go along. Let's sign things off. Let's put it in front of real users has also been a real challenge. There's this desire to keep it private and shrouded in secrecy until we're ready to launch. So yeah, lots of challenges. The important thing is about, and this was a lesson for me as well, is not trying to run before we can walk. It's bringing people along with us on the journey. There are new people with the skills that have come in, but it's about making sure that we pair people up, do the buddy, do the knowledge transfer, and do as much training and support with people as we can. And we haven't always got it right. In fact, we've got it pretty damn wrong in a couple of occasions, and you know, but we're learning from it. I think the important thing is to acknowledge that it's okay to cock up, it's okay to fail, to applaud failure and applaud people for calling it out. But the important thing is then learning that lesson and not doing it again. But yeah, it is challenging, and you know, we're still I imagine we've got a few more challenges to come, but we're acknowledging it and we're making it a safe space to make mistakes. It is a huge effort. Key challenges we've experienced on onboarding new people remotely, and how have we overcome them? Oh, we've got super smart with our induction. Learning, you know, we keep taking the last person who was inducted, we get their feedback. How did it go for you? What went well? What didn't go well? What could we do better? And then we iterate our induction pack. There isn't line managers doing the induction anymore either. We've got some people who have a natural skill set for making people feel welcome. As part of our HR team, as soon as somebody is appointed and they've got their offer letter from a contract, they get a link to an onboarding system when they can start to access things from Homes England about our mission statement, our offer. So people have already got that engagement before their actual start date. So by the time they come and join me or my team, they already actually feel a part of Homes England and have had some conversation from our HR department. So the onboarding system, again, we were very lucky that was delivered before COVID, has really helped us and supported us with that. But then the first 2 weeks of somebody being inducted into our team, it's keeping their diary free, not putting them straight on a project. It's getting them to understand Homes England, putting in lots of welcome chats, understand the team, giving them access to structure charts, and then letting them join meetings, but to sit back and not expecting them to contribute whatsoever. Just sit back, soak it up. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, sitting down with people saying, right, what is your plan? Let's support you now. What do you want to do in the next 4 weeks? And having some sort of focused approach to a plan has been really helpful as well. And as leaders and line managers, it is about managing people's expectations, being really clear about what we do expect. So whether somebody is a contractor or a permanent, I've just talked about induction there for permanent. It's not as lengthy or as slick for our contractors. Hi. It's not as for our contractors. There is the expectation that they do come in and hit the ground running, but what we do make sure that they can do is that they've got their Office 365 account already. It is bring your own device for some of our contractors, so it's just making sure that they've got the tools that they need to do the job and setting those expectations early on. What techniques have we used to keep our team engaged and motivated? So again, fun. We've used fun as a key part, and everybody has a different view of what fun is. So it is about getting feedback from the team, using the pulse surveys about what things people would like us to do. Some people would just like time out. Some people would like a lunchtime quiz. We have a lot of part-time working as well, so it's making sure that whatever we do is inclusive. So there is the pub, but it's also you don't have to have an alcoholic drink. So the pub is at a time of 4:30 on a Friday. That doesn't meet everybody's needs. So we've allowed the teams, we've stepped back to allow the teams to do things that meet their needs as well. So we had different regional hubs. So we've got the Coventry hub. There's a group set up. So if people want to meet up locally in parks, we're starting to do that now. So still socially distancing, but people can get some face-to-face interaction. We still have our reward and recognition process as well, so we're still putting people forward for that. So we do awards for the most engaging meeting. We are starting to do things about recognising and calling out some of the good behaviours, some of the most honest feedback as well. So keeping people motivated. We thought we'd got over that first hurdle, but we are seeing a new spike in decreased motivation because of how long this has gone on. So we're just going to have to keep revisiting that, and again keep talking to people and just to keep iterating what we're doing. I think that's all for the questions. There's a few more comments there. So they were really good questions, but I think the important thing is that as individuals, not to beat ourselves up about things when we get them wrong, whether you're a leader, a line manager, or just a part of a team. It's just so important to make sure you've got time to reflect. There's so much going on. I've heard the phrase so much, we're not working from home, we're trying to do our job as well, in our office space. It is extremely challenging. We've all got home commitments that we're trying to juggle with as well. So listening to feedback, taking time out, reflecting and doing what we can. The fact that we're just getting by each day is a success, and acknowledging that the impact to delivery is going to be massive, absolutely massive. And not to lose some of the good stuff either. So when we are back in the offices, there's a lot of really great stuff that's come out of remote working, and we don't want to lose that either.
Great. I think that's all the questions, and I think I will wrap it up there. But Sarah, one more question. Go on.
One more popped in. So it's not necessarily government guidance that we're following. So obviously there is the guidance that comes out to everybody from government, and we're not a government department. We are an executive agency. What we are more tied to is the blocks that we work out of, our office blocks. So they have landlords. So even if Homes England or government said, you can all return tomorrow, the block that we work out of in Coventry has a private landlord. And if he can't meet the needs of the legislation, so if he can't accommodate things with the stairs, access for people with disabilities, the lifts, we also share that building with Coventry City Council. there's a lot of things that are governing us here. And we've also, you know, even if they say, yeah, everyone can return tomorrow, we are also taking that down a level, basing it on people's individual needs as well. So no, we're not tied to government guidelines. We're taking guidance and advice from lots of areas, but most importantly, our people. We're doing pulse surveys on how our people feel. When we get back to working in offices, you know, our head office was London, but on paper we were starting that transition to moving it to Coventry. I see us moving away from that even more now and saying, well, actually, we're going to focus regionally. If you're based in a region, stay in a region. That is going to be the safest thing. I can't see me wanting to jump on a tube anytime soon. So, you know, long may that continue, but equally, you know, having that regional base, Coventry, doing more things regionally is what our people are saying to us they want at the moment. So I can see government department policies being rewritten as we speak because of what's happening because of COVID. But yeah, so loosely, no, we're following the government guidance like everyone else as people, but in terms of our office location, we've got wider governance and guidance around landlords as well to consider, and our people. That's it.
Great, thank you very much, Sarah. And completely right. The other, I work across the whole of central government, and the other government bodies are saying a very similar message, to be honest. It seems to be working quite well to be working remotely and maybe have a touch point in the office a lot less regular. That opens more people who are contracting who are permanent. So does that offer a different skill set when people have traditionally struggled? If you look at places like the DWP up in the Northwest, they've struggled with certain skill sets traditionally. So they've definitely found it a benefit and things like that. And the world is changing. The world is changing, and maybe 5G will cure it all. I don't know. Or it might cause loads of problems. We shall see. But no, really big thank you. Round of applause. Thank you very much, Sarah. And I'll save this. I'll get it posted on YouTube channel if anybody wants to watch it and redirect it. And thank you very much. And I look forward to doing something with you all soon. Bye, everybody.